hi. We're going into the kibbutz. I believe 62 people passed away on October 7th.
Killed.
Murdered.
Murdered, excuse me. Murdered. Not passed away, murdered on October 7th. And again, if we do hear that drill, that siren, you have to get on your stomach and cover your hands on your back of your head. I hope that won't happen, but that happened to me when I was at Kibbutz Nahalos the other day.
Is everybody combined?
Send that picture.
Good morning. Thank you for coming to Aza. My name is Ron from the IDF spokesperson unit. With me, Arbel and Yoav. We're currently studying in Kibbutz Aza. And as you drove in, you might saw that it was a lovely picture. You can sense it, you can feel it, it's all of green. Nature never stops. On October 7th, Kibbutz Aza was one of the 22 communities who were affected from Hamas terror attack. 960 people lived here on October 6th. On October 7th, 64 were murdered, 19 were kidnapped, and 6 were civilians. Those are the numbers. Before we will start going inside the kibbutz, and I'll give you more details, and I'll share with you as many stories as I can. A quick safety briefing. We're still a war zone. You will hear a lot of, we call it the symphony of war. Sirens, bombs, a lot of shooting around here. So if something happens or if a siren goes on, it will be a voice of a woman says, Tseva Adom. We'll have less than 10 seconds to find a shelter. It will be one of those concrete buildings that spread along the kibbutz. So we'll go there safely and slowly, and we'll be there together. So just follow us. And if we will not have a safe room anywhere in the area, we will lay on the ground, put our hands on the head, and lay there for a few minutes until it's safe to go up again.
How many people are still held hostage in Gaza?
From this kibbutz,
Yeah.
5. Those are their pictures.
Okay.
We will see where they were kidnapped from.
Okay.
We're talking about Ziv and Gali. They're twins. Doron, Emily, and Kit.
Are any of them American?
No, none that I know of.
Okay.
אולי אני טועה. Kit is American.
Which one's the American?
Kid.
Kit. This one.
John,
He's American.
remember you saw his picture yesterday?
Yep. Yes. Yes.
His wife Aviva was released after more than 50 days. Picture of those, and we will enter the houses that we will let you know that this is okay, and the family approves us to go in. We really keeping the privacy of the people here. It's their houses, their homes, and horrors happen here, and we really like to keep their privacy. Thank you for the question about the hostages. We still have 5 hostages in Hamas captivity from this kibbutz. And on that Shabbat morning, that's in Torah, 63 a.m., alarming amount of alarms started hearing along the kibbutz. And I'm saying, and I'm talking about people who used to live under fire. It's a regular threat in here. We used to go to run to the shelters if something happened. But that was something really unusual, following by yelling in Arabic outside the houses, gunshots, and something is going on. The first responders team of the kibbutz right away jumps to defend the kibbutz. Every kibbutz, each community have their own protective, kind of protective squad, civilians who trained by the army and hold a weapon. But the long weapons, the rifles, are stored in the armory. We will pass it. It's right here. The terrorists apparently knew where the armory was, and they ambushed them. Few members of those protective squad managed to take the weapons from the army and start fighting along the kibbutz. One of them was Ophir Lipschitz, one special man, true man of peace. He was the head of the regional council and dedicated his life to peace. He truly believed in peace economy. And he went outside, took the weapon from the armory, and went to fight. So from this point, we will go see his house, and I'll tell you more what happened.
I just wanted to tell you that
yeah.
this is the second Holocaust, and Jerry Wartsky's 94 survived Auschwitz. And I just want you to know
It's
that.
really a pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's start walking. Let's stay as a group together.
Was the kibbutz ransacked by the Gazans as well? So in other words, after Hamas come through,
Yeah.
did the regular Gazans come in and just
The
ransack?
second and the third wave who came in, those looters that,
Looters and Were they
some of them
armed and-
actually did participated in the murdering.
so they were then shooting and okay.
Yeah. But most of them were looters. They came in to loot and took stuff.
And how far are we from Gaza right here?
And about a mile from
mile.
the barrier.
Is there video surveillance here as well from? Did they have a video record of what occurred from?
So here we don't have footages from here, not from the terrorists who infiltrated the kibbutz, and not from CCTV's camera that were here. We don't have much of them of what happened here, but in other communities and kibbutzim area, they definitely are. זה הבית שהייתה התרבה.
זה?
כן. הממ"ד פה מצד שמאל, זה הבית שהייתה התרבה.
How often do you have the alarms recently? Have you had many?
Recently they're increased,
So you had to go into shelters.
so we had a little bit more in the past 2-3 weeks. It was quite, today was only in Sderot.
Yeah, that's what we heard.
Yeah.
You called me.
So it wasn't here, but yeah, in the last few weeks there are more. It was a little bit of quiet time when the IDF operated in the northern part of Gaza. We are in the northern part right now. We'll see 2 points of view on the Gaza Strip right now. So yeah, but it comes and goes, and you cannot really know it before. Sometimes you even hear them shooting, and then you hear the Iron Dome, and you see it. And that's kind of a view.
Where's the Iron Dome station relative to?
So it's moving every time. We can't like hope where exactly it is, but you are going to see one after the visit. So you will go there and you will see how they operate, and you will meet the people there that in charge of operating the Iron Dome and protecting us. One thing that I didn't mention. It's been 225 days since October 7th. And we walked a few minutes right now, and you saw that the Sukkot are still standing.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw that the time here kind of stopped, froze on October 7. Here it's still October 7. The people here still leave October 7 every day. They all evacuated, most of them to Kibbutz Shfaim, some of them to Tel Aviv or Herzliya, the center of Israel. But most of the community are together in Kibbutz Shfaim.
No one's living here now?
No one is living here now, except from the protective squad of the kibbutz. It's a new protective squad because 7 of the previous protective squad of the kibbutz were killed on October 7. 5 of them were severely injured, and 2 were out of, they couldn't function on the day because it was too hard and they saw their friends getting murdered in front of their eyes. So we're standing in front of Ofir Liebstein's house. As I said before, Ofir was a true man of peace. Like saying that, I can tell you that he dedicated his life to peace. He put a lot of efforts to make the Erez crossing the next Silicon Valley. He collected monies, he talked with the governments, he really wanted to establish their international zone that will combine Gazans and Israelis. He believed in working together to make peace. He hosted here everyone who just wanted to talk. Everyone, it wasn't matter for him if you're who you are. If you wanted to build bridges, you're welcome. If you're willing to hear another opinion, you're welcome. If you want to speak up, you're welcome to be here. As I said, Ofir immediately understood something else is happening and he ran to the armory to get a weapon. On his way back, the same way we just walked, he faced with a group of terrorists and they shot at him right away. His body was found next to this green light pool with Israeli flag on it, 20 meters from his house, right here. On the day of October 7, Ofir was the first name that came to the public eye, that he got murdered. And then, with the pictures that start running along the WhatsApp groups, we understood that Hamas started a war against innocent civilians. They attacked them in their houses, in their homes, in the safest place that we know that we have in our country, in our state. And that was the reality on October 7th. The one who found Ofir's body was his oldest son. He didn't know what happened to his dad. He tried to see what the location in the phone, he tried to do it. And he saw it, he is 20 meters from the house and he's not coming back. What is going on? With his mother and 2 of his siblings inside the city. He decided, although we're talking about hundreds of terrorists already infiltrated to the kibbutz, to go outside to see what happened. He saw his body, take the long weapon, and goes back to defend his family, his mother and his 2 siblings that are still at the house. On the day of Vered, Ofir's wife didn't lose just Ofir. She lost her mother, Bilha, 80 years old woman, who didn't understand what happened. She heard the shots, the yelling, and she went outside, she opened the door. The terrorists immediately shot at her, murdered her at the entrance of the house. We saw the entrance of the house. It was that house with all the gunshots outside. Ofir Vered lost her son. Was murdered in his house in the Young Generation neighborhood. They had 4 sons, 4 boys. She lost her nephew, Neta, who jumped on a grenade to save his fiancée that was hiding under the bed. 3 generations from the same family got murdered in the first hours of the attack. Ofir used to say about this place that this is 95% heaven, 5% hell, and he will make it 100% heaven. This was his dream about this place, about the Gaza envelope. To live here is a choice, is to raise your children, your kids, with immediate threats of rockets, is a choice. But they chose, they truly believe they are doing the right thing. The terrorists came well prepared. We're talking about tires and gasoline they brought with them to Gaza to set the houses on fire. They brought kidnap kit, plastic handcuffs so they can tie people behind their back and blindfolded them. They brought RPGs, grenades, a lot of ammunition, a lot of explosives. They came with the tenders, the white one that we all remember, they came with motorbikes, and they even came by air with paragliders that landed here and in another kibbutzim in the area. Let's see where the point when one of the gliders landed right inside this kibbutz and what happened there.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned earlier about the people who died with it. Given the numbers on the kibbutz,
Yeah.
I would have thought more would die because you had hundreds of armed Hamas and they surprised everyone here. How is it that 2/3 of the kibbutz survived?
So we're talking about the most of the murdering and the kidnapping happened in the first hours. About 10 a.m. the army was here, the first forces, so that stopped them from going on in the murdering and the killing. They thought they had time, so they were like going between the houses freely. They didn't like went into every house. It was pretty random. Not every house was entered by the terrorists. Some of them they skipped the houses. They burned this house, they entered this one, they murdered this family and moved on.
So say the army came here at 10 a.m.
Around 10.
How far is Nir
Yeah.
Oz from here?
Nir Oz, it's further south from here.
Because we met someone from Nir Oz and the army didn't come at all. So
True.
So the army got here at 10.
It was to get to Nir Oz. It was harder,
Okay.
and there were less forces in the south part,
Okay.
and the roads were blocked because the terrorists, when they infiltrated, they didn't stop in the first kibbutzim. They moved on,
Yep.
and they murdered and killed and started fires on the roads. So the army couldn't get
I get it.
to
So
those
28
to those.
kilometers.
Well, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
28 kilometers.
Is there any idea
And
how
they
many-
attacked the bases first. They
Yeah.
attacked the Nahal Oz base. So they totally blinded us because all the observations technology was on that base. So they attacked this base with suicide drones. They just dropped bombs on the base and they infiltrate to the base and then they murder them.
Yep.
They're the soldiers. They burned the observations operational room with the soldiers inside. 16 girls burned inside the operational room, and they didn't want to leave it because they were like, we have a job, one job, to protect this area, and we're not going to leave this operational room. Although it was totally burned, they burned to ashes inside, like they couldn't recognize them. So this is like they attacked from many points. We're talking about around 25 infiltration points along the fence. And from that on, they moved inside. They reached to Sderot or Fakim. It's like they moved on. They didn't stay in one place. They just,
Do we know how many there were in total?
we don't really
Estimate?
know. Estimates. Thousands.
About 3,000.
Yeah. So not that far, about a mile. Yeah.
1-2 kilometers.
Yeah, one.
Maybe.
We'll go
Most
through
of
the
it.
area right now, and you will get sense of how far we are.
Okay.
זה משפחת כהן. כן.
נפל על חוצנו לא ב7 באוקטובר?